Everybody, we are back to some Cyberpunk 2077 tonight. I was strongly debating on some Outlast trials, but I don't have any tasks for the flashback. And as amusing as the burning or whatever, God, it's a fire-based one. It's freezing in Ottawa right now. Actually, I mean basically in Eastern Canada right now. So. It would slightly help me to see something warm in the game, but there's not quite the same impulse that I felt for some of the previous events, just because like the Amelia stuff I find genuinely interesting, and I can see how others, especially people who are on the fence about the game, might find that sort of helpful just to see how. I mean, just on top of it too, I like the way that they weave the story in personally. So, that's another feature that I think makes it worth sharing on stream. I'm certainly not above doing Outlast Trials on stream again, but the drawback for this week is that it's basically just a bunch of fire levels. So that's fun, but I can do that basically anytime. And I've got all my tasks done and such. So we're going to be back to Cyberpunk. I am pretty sure I have a little difficulty here figuring out if I'm trying to figure out if I am well and truly into material that I haven't seen before, or if there are a couple of sort of lingering side quests that I haven't seen yet. And obviously, like having a romance with Panam has also unlocked some stuff I haven't seen before. Although, hanging out at the apartment kind of seems to be just the same thing over and over again. So I'll get through that one last time, and then I won't worry about messaging again. So I'm just going to have some coffee. But, yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'd say we're close, if not well into material that I have not seen,
everyone, welcome to Info
which I'm
Flash.
looking forward to.
Say, did y'all lose power yesterday too?
It's a little funny just because of the way that. Okay, so it says Bazaar in Japan. Oh, that's right. Yes, we had that really nice sequence with Judy. I was actually really glad I did that. Okay. So go to the bazaar in Japantown. I was doing a bunch of NCPD missions, to pass the time. Play it safe, go to the bazaar in Japantown. Since I obviously wasn't invited to Saburo Arasaka's funeral, I guess this sad little parade will have to do. I'm just missing confetti. But in all seriousness, Takamura must have a death wish. He's just got to jump onto Hanako's platform, be my fucking guest. We'll deal with the snipers. Meanwhile, keep an eye out for an escape route. This is going to go all kinds of wrong. I can feel it. Hanako Arasaka, daughter of Saburo Arasaka and one of the most enigmatic figures in the Arasaka Corporation. Her past is shrouded in secrecy and closely guarded by a team of lawyers prepared to torpedo any journalistic inquiry into her life. The predominant theory about her early life suggests that she was, hey, how you doing, Underwater? Yes, absolutely. Actually, Underwater Mark, good to see you. Have you ever played Frostpunk by any chance? Because I first of all I had to go to a clinic, midway through my work day, but they were pretty cool about it. Just go home afterwards. Like you can finish off your day at home. But because I can't really rely on transit, I walked to and from, and I now fully understand why your two options in Frostpunk are basically authoritarianism or fundamentalism. Like it's religion or some form of, I'll just call it communism, that are like the two paths society can go down in Frostpunk, and now I completely understand why. Just so I don't make it sound like a completely horrible game, the idea behind it is that both of those paths will give you opportunities to go down relatively benign forms of those ideologies. So, like taking care of people or, maximizing productivity and so on and so forth. But both of them can also descend to a point where you get the option to do sort of executions in order to preserve stability. And unlike the previous, I will say I believe it's 11-bit Studios that did that. The developers behind it are very, very talented. They did a really good game before it called This War of Mine. And what I thought was really interesting, I believe this is a conscious choice that they made as well. For This War of Mine, they made a very conscious decision not to assign any kind of moral value to what you do. Like you do what you can to survive the war. There are probably some things that you can do in the game that will make you feel quite bad, but that's between you and the game. The game doesn't go out of its way to make you feel a certain way about that. In contrast, there is a system, and I believe it is not fully understood. I think people have kind of worked out a couple of points of no return that you can hit. But part of the scoring at the end of the game, it's not an actual score, but it does actually indicate as to whether or not you crossed the line in terms of your conduct, whether, in the name of having the city survive, if you sort of abandoned sort of this humanity or sort of guiding principle. I think that's really interesting, and I'm actually very intrigued by the fact that, This War of Mine was an effort to really seriously tackle what I would suggest is probably the most common human experience of war, which is not to be, a giant shoulder-padded Marine, but rather, a civilian really just trying to do your best in an impossible situation. And then, you can contrast that with something purely fictional. Very, very good city builder, in my opinion. I've not yet played the sequel, but I want to. It's actually one of the reasons why I still have Game Pass. But because it is a fictional scenario, it's one that I think they feel a little more comfortable making a sort of a moral statement on your actions. And I think there's something kind of fun about the fact that, the game does ultimately judge you pretty harshly if you're a dick. So I definitely recommend it if you like city builders. All right, Hanako Arasaka, daughter of Saburo Arasaka and one of the most enigmatic figures in the Arasaka Corporation. Her past is shrouded in secrecy and closely guarded by a team of lawyers prepared to torpedo any journalistic inquiry into her life. The predominant theory about her early life suggests that she was forbidden from leaving the family's residence near Tokyo until she came of age. Only her skills as a netrunner kept Hanako from becoming completely cut off from the outside world. Many also believe that she helped her brother, Yorinobu, return to the family fold after his infamous rebellion came to a fruitless halt. Although Hanako has never held any official position within the company, the buzz around her involvement in the behind-the-scenes corporate scheming continues to grow. That said, separating truth from speculation remains nearly impossible. Rumors about Hanako Arasaka never last long, and neither do the people who spread them. Oh, I also feel I should mention, partly in order to warm up, but also because I saw a sale was going on and it's very hard for me not to go into a bookstore, I did wind up with a little bit of a haul. So I got Karl Popper's Open Society and Its Enemies, which weirdly enough, it is actually one that I have wanted to buy and read for a while. And it's always just been a little too costly for me whenever I've seen the option. But for whatever reason, maybe it's just because I'm, slightly more gainfully employed. I do finally now have my own copy. I got Edwin Abbott, Flatland, A Romance in Many Dimensions. I'm a bit of a sucker for Penguin Classics, so I saw there was a Penguin Classics section, and that was there. I was actually looking for Joseph Conrad and Graham Greene, and there was some Joseph Conrad, but not what I was specifically looking for. So I passed it over. But I also saw G.K. Chesterton, The Man Who Was Thursday. So I feel that was a unexpected but pretty good haul for a random trip into a bookstore. Not that I'm short on things to read, but I think these are pretty solid choices. I have. In fact, I ordered another Penguin book, which came in this week, and I got Procopius' Secret Histories. So I don't know if you have ever heard of this, but Procopius, I think, would probably count as one of the sort of first-rate classical historians. And he is someone who apparently was an eyewitness to Justinian. Well, so Justinian was the emperor, and Belisarius was his general, sort of known as. I believe he's often given sort of the name the last Roman, and so this kind of conquest of Italy, sort of attempting to sort of reestablish the old Roman Empire, and his probably his most famous work. Is the document of that time. Now, I believe the sort of quote unquote official name of the secret history is Anecdota, but basically, this is a history which, so far as I can tell, was not published in his lifetime, but it's kind of like the National Enquirer version of Justinian's court. Like, it is this really scandalous, like, absolutely incredible account of the court. And it is not nearly as flattering as his official history. So, like, we've got everything from, like, like Justinian walking around the palace without a head, and, like, Belisarius is a cuck, and, like you this is the sort of stuff you would expect to find on, like, Twitter, posts about Justinian's court. Oh yeah, there's whole passages about, like, Theodora and, like, her incredibly inappropriate performances on the stage, let's say. So it is, go ahead and read the New York Times. It's the finest investigative reporting on the planet. Go ahead and read the New York Times if you want to. They get lucky sometimes. It is relatively short, but it is a heck of a read. I think someone had suggested that it was written due to uncertainty in Justinian's reign, and the idea was that this manuscript was prepared in case things sort of went against Justinian, and Procopius needed to get in good with the rebels. So he sort of has this kind of this alibi document of, like, oh, I always hated the guy. Look at this history I was working on. I just was waiting for him to croak. But yeah, it's I actually don't know nearly as much of it as I should. I know sort of the headlines. I, like, obviously I give it in, like, the really crude I give it in the, like, really crude grok style accounting, just because I feel roughly in line with the tone. But yeah, so long story short, I go to the Spaniel's Tale. So my usual deal is that if I will prioritize whatever bookstore yep, that's the one. I usually see the story about the swans. But I have kind of like an algorithm for buying books locally. So I'll prioritize any store that has a book that I want in stock. Love going to used bookstores. So, like Book Bazaar, Black Squirrel books. I don't think those are particularly, original suggestions, but they work. Actually, it was URock where somebody told me about Black Squirrel, which was a good recommendation. And then I'm not above Chapters. I mean, obviously, when I saw the new flagship at Rideau, for those of you who are not in Ottawa, that's not going to make any sense. But there's they moved the flagship store to a place across from it, and I've complained about this chain a few times, but, like, it's full of quote unquote reading culture, which apparently involves tea sets and blankets and, like, to me, generally reading culture involves turning pages. So, and I was a little disappointed to find out not only that there seemed to be considerably less space dedicated for books, but I actually specifically went to that store to find a copy of Animal Farm to give to someone who had never read George Orwell before and was looking for something. They were trying to improve their English, so they wanted something that was like proper English, but they thought would be like a good story. And I was like, you know what, actually think like Animal Farm, in addition to being one that I think is worthwhile, like probably fits the bill pretty well. And I actually had to order it in because it was not at Chapters. So, and like the thing that always bugs me a bit about Chapters is like they always like come up, they're always so helpful and say like, we can order it in for you, but it's like, I go to the store, so I don't order it. Like, you know, I'm not going to like pay the markup so you can order it in for me, right? Like, I'm here because like the whole premise behind a big box retailer is to have like a nice big selection of stuff that I want. And like I used to actually be a lot better with college bookstores because, you know, they would have stuff like Schaum's guides. So if you've ever been into if any of you've been into mathematics, you probably know that like some of the Schaum's guides to mathematical topics are like almost as good as textbooks in some cases. Actually may even be as good as textbooks in some cases. I've just never like relied on one solo. But like Seymour Lipschutz wrote one for linear algebra. And like I would hold that up, you know, to any first year linear algebra textbook I was given. I think there's a really, really wonderful one by Sheldon Axler called Linear Algebra Done Right, which is a much more compact but certainly very dense treatment of linear algebra. And it advertises itself as a second course on linear algebra, right? So you understand the basics, you know, through something like Lipschutz, let's say, and then you go on to Axler. Actually, I love the fact his latest edition he put for free online, so you don't even. I have a hardcover because I like that. But actually, I'm ashamed to admit I actually own 2 hardcover copies of Linear Algebra Done Right. But yeah, it's I think like if it's a book you want to read, it's one that is freely available. But yeah, so like the thing is that like I totally understand that places like Chapters are less likely to have stuff like Schaum's guides. Like what I was really looking for was things like, you know, physics and chemistry, because those are things that I never really did in university. And it would be great if I could get something that's, you know, sufficiently meaty that I am learning something real, but, you know, I'm not like trying to go out to the frontier, or like I'm not bugging I've got a couple of physics friends, and I'm not like bugging these people who quite literally have a PhD in physics, you know, with like basic, you know, not even first year, like probably grade 11 physics questions, especially because like now I know calculus, so I'm sure the sort of stuff I would have learned in, you know, 11 I can derive from the underlying mathematics. I took a linear algebra course in college. I thought someday someone is going to use this stuff to rule the world. AI is on the rise. I mean, it is definitely a workhorse of econometrics as well. So that has definitely been very dominant. I think like Wassily Leontief, actually, one of the first applications of computers in the economics department. He made like a big like just a big model of the economy, and obviously like linear algebra is really helpful for communicating, doing mathematics to the computer. Actually, I'm really curious. I'm sorry, I like totally moved to the side of Cyberpunk, but does anybody in chat know what a galactic algorithm is? This is really fun. I will finish my rant on Chapters in big box stores and whatnot, but I'll let the question about galactic algorithms come out or work its way through chat, and then also follow up to Underwater Monk's comment on Penguin Classics. But yeah, so the thing is, like, that's I completely understand that, like, Chapters is or Indigo, I think that's the parent company's name. They've got to appeal to their audience. Their audience maybe isn't necessarily into isn't necessarily about reading the sort of stuff that I want to read. Like I said, university bookstores used to be a bit better for some of the stuff that I would want to see, and not exclusively, right? Like, I like reading normal stuff too. Okay, I will share a bit on galactic algorithms too then. Um, but like, I kind of understand where it is. But like, the thing is, like, university bookstores don't really work well. And like, it's really, really funny actually. I went to the University of Ottawa bookstore, and I like kind of see this like sad and dark area in the back where it's all the course material, which, like, I am definitely not going to go browse the course material, because, like, obviously if I buy from that, like, people are like, somebody's going to be short a textbook. Um, but yeah, like, there's no book. It's all like, sweatshirts and drinkware and stuff like that, which is, again, it's fine. Like, a university bookstore is not obligated to provide like study guides for me, but like, that's at UBC, that used to be the most reliable place I could find a Sham's guide. And yeah, like, the bookstore is very much like, there's the small textbook section in the back, and then there is the merch section. But there's no bookstore for the general public anymore. Or maybe there never was. Like, I'm more drawing from my experience of like UBC, but that was a bit of a shock to me. But yeah, so my usual rule on this is that, like, big box stuff, if they don't have it in stock, I won't order it in. But what I will usually do is I'll go to a store like Spaniel's Tail, and I'll order it in. And like, it's usually like $2 more, but I don't know, like, a 10% markup to support like a local business doesn't feel like that much. Like, I'd like more places like that. And sometimes that means you need to pay for it. And in the end, I buy enough coffee that $2 on a book purchase is not really the sort of thing that's going to be the difference between me having like a positive or negative balance at the end of the month. So that's my usual setup. But again, I love going to used bookstores, just because usually I don't even know what I want. I found some really neat. It's like Lawrence Friedman's strategy book was at Black Squirrel one day, and like, I knew I wanted to read it at some point. I just didn't know that was going to be the day. So, but yeah, sorry. I thought of the store because you mentioned Penguin Classics. They have a nice spinner of them. That's actually where I found The Man Who Is Thursday. A nice spinner of them right near the door. I was there the other week to buy a copy of Dostoevsky's The House of the Dead for a friend's birthday. Good choice. Happy birthday to your friend. Yeah, actually, I've noticed. So I'm a bit of a sucker for the Penguin stuff. And when I was in the UK, I went to Waterstones. I did not realize, I think it was the 90th anniversary of Penguin. So they had a pop-up store. And like, I walked in, and like, I really liked going to the flagship Waterstones. Foyles was also a really good store. There's some great bookstores in London, which it is probably not going to shock anybody, but yeah, like the Penguin pop-up, I walked in, and like, oh boy, like, I told myself, it's like, you can have one. Actually, I got it here. Let me I've got my book haul from the UK. So it was, I need to be clear, this was one on Penguin books. But I went for Earthsea, the first 4 books, Ursula Le Guin. So that was out of all of the Penguin books in the pop-up downstairs. I went. Now, it's hard for me not to go to Waterstones in the UK and not buy McCarran's Slow Horses. If you are not familiar with the TV show, definitely check it out. It is wonderful. And yeah, so I definitely wanted to start reading the books, and it felt very good to get it in the in the UK properly. Hang on. Also in this bag, so I also bought myself a tote bag. It's literally the first tote bag I've ever bought. So it's got the Brighton Rock by Graham Greene, the kind of orange and white original penguin style for it, which is good. I also bought Lane Greene's latest edition of the Economist Style Guide, Writing with Style. I think it's a pretty decent book. Like, there's some sections which I sort of maybe browse over a little bit more, but I think it's a solid one, especially the opening sections on the history of the English language. And then I added in I just put into the bag some of the extras that I got. So I went to see The Mousetrap, Agatha Christie's famous and very long-running play. It actually was playing uninterrupted since its first run until COVID hit, and then they had to shut it down for a little while. But there's a tradition of taking a photo the tradition is don't give away the twist, which I will not do here, although obviously it's the internet, so I think most people can tell you. But if you want, you can get your program or I've got a copy of, like, a hardcover of the play, and it's stamped with a performance number. So I was at the 30,206th performance of The Mousetrap. I really liked it. I think it's really well done. And then the last one, this is a really special one for me. This was a gift that someone gave me, and it was Julian Barnes' The Noise of Time, which has a number of little details in terms of, like, its subject matter and the people who gave it to me and some of the things that they know I was working on, which just made me feel like $1,000,000. So, it was a good, it's probably... I have a lot of really fond memories of London, but I feel like, especially as somebody who likes reading so much, I feel the book haul was a pretty solid one. But one of the reasons why I was so excited about that Penguin pop-up was not so much buying the Penguin books, although that's always a nice opportunity. I actually got to see a talk by one of the people who designs the Penguin covers. And some of the earliest Penguin interests that I had were actually these really interesting, great ideas. They're very small books, sort of they had a few different styles, but they would have some of these works. So, these would be things like the Symposium. I think they had Fear and Trembling might have been one of them by Kierkegaard. Definitely Nietzsche featured in a few of them. But that guy, I think his most famous cover is the one that he did for 1984, which actually blacks out the 1984. But you know how, like, you can sort of have that stamp, like, you kind of have the raised or the raised lettering. So the cover for 1984 blacks out 1984, and it just leaves the impression of it. That is a bold but great choice for and otherwise very standard, like, old school Penguin classics cover of, like, the orange and white. And so he did this whole history of the Penguin classics covers. But I did not realize that, because, like, this is the thing, like, the old metaphor, or not the metaphor, but the old cliche is, like, you don't judge a book by its cover. Of course you judge books by its cover. If there's something eye-catching, you go and you look at it, right? You're going to take that off the shelf. Or if it has an unusual title or I mean, sometimes if you just see a funny name, right? Like I'm sure like half of the, maybe not half, but like I'm sure there's a solid fraction of people who've read Kierkegaard just because it's got in the name. And like nobody wants to admit that there are some of these very silly reasons why we read some of the things we do, but we do, right? Like, there's things that catch the eye. Um, yeah, in any case, I don't want to overcredit the guy's work, but I would say that they're very attractive designs for sure. And so I didn't realize that some of my earliest exposure to some, big ideas, some of the philosophy that would eventually get me into university, even though I ultimately went into economics, I definitely can point to. Actually, come to think of it, I believe my copy of the Myth of Sisyphus is one of the great ideas. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. That is definitely a cover that he did. But yeah, it was really cool to just sort of hear a little bit about the design of the covers and sort of the history of Penguin covers and so on. The Q&A was really interesting too, because it had, there's some questions more about contemporary book design and sort of how, yes, there is a style and there's a thing that works, but like, you look at the shelf and like it's all the same style, and so nothing sort of stands out anymore. So I read Dune because he saw a copy with a stylized title where all the letters were just half circles, and I thought that was great typography. Oh, that's interesting. But the funny thing is that I get the impression you read Dune quite some time ago, so that wouldn't have been the half circle version that would have been tied in with the film, would it? Although, I mean, at this point, it would be like, which film, right? Yeah, I think the half circle was one that I feel like that was a big one for the most recent one, but it could predate that, and I'm just not familiar. Actually, I was lucky. There was a used bookstore in Kelowna, and the copy of Dune I bought is one that's actually a movie tie-in for the 1984 David Lynch movie. So I've got like photos of Kyle MacLachlan in the back of it. I also really like topography. I won't leap into. I will finish the idea of galactic algorithms, but I am a bit of a sucker for topography. Although I will say I am a bit fixed in terms of my taste. Like I really like Baskerville. I actually sat down when I first got an iPad. I opened up Pages and I typed like a sentence in each of the fonts, and I eliminated the ones where I was like, yeah, that just doesn't work for me. And I had sort of a short list, and I sort of like ranked them, and I sort of paired them off and saw, and like Baskerville was the clear winner at the top. But what I was so happy about when I found it after the fact is that the Canada wordmark is actually based off of Baskerville as well. So there is some versions, I think most versions actually, that you'll get with standard software, I believe has a double line for the $, which is a bit old fashioned. And that is one thing that I don't quite like because it sort of draws attention to itself. But I think there are like there's like modernizations of it which retain all of the features, but move away from the $. And again, I'm trying to move a little bit beyond from just sort of the one note. I'm starting to expand a little bit. I do still have a preference for serifs, although I think for most web stuff that doesn't quite work. But I'm starting to branch out a little bit more. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's uniformity that I'm really looking for here, right? It's also like the serial comma, aka Oxford comma, aka Harvard comma, which is only called a Harvard comma by people who want to follow the statement with "I went to Harvard," But the like I don't feel as strong. I realize like grammar nerds really want to make a big deal about it, and especially style guides when people are writing them, like it's a good excuse to tell people what to do. So everybody loves writing them and nobody loves reading them. I actually like reading style guides. I like Steven Pinker's. Lane Green's is good. Fowler's is my go-to. Um, I think that's. I know, like everybody refers to Strunk and White. I like Strunk and White's nice. I just there's others that I prefer now. So, but Pinker's is really good. The sense of style. Um, but the what was it? Yeah. So the like the serial comma is fine. I always dislike the like I think that there's like a lot of contrived examples where it's very clear how you can work your way out of it. And I actually find a couple of them are ones that do not get solved by the serial comma. I feel slightly stronger now to find out that the serial comma is actually, despite the name Oxford comma, the serial comma is much more common in American style than it is in British style. But I'm actually more with Fowler on this, where it is the consistency that matters as opposed to the comma itself. And I think this is important. So obviously, you know, if you're doing econ stuff and you're looking at sectors, the Canadian government style for the Nikes is not to use the serial comma, right? So I don't know, like forestry, mining. Well, actually, I don't think forestry is in the same one. But like you know, you have three categories. You'll do a comma and then and in the end. And there's sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the. There was one I had like on the tip of my tongue. It's like I think it's like Nikes 21 or something like that. But it doesn't matter. Like whatever. Everybody knows what the serial comma is for, so it doesn't really matter. But the thing for me is, right, if you're going to be writing a document and you are going to refer to that sector, the question is, do you rewrite the sector name knowing that that's not actually the official name of the sector, but you want to, you want it to conform to your choice of the serial comma, or do you adopt the convention, of the official government publication and, maybe become less of a zealot on the serial comma? My inclination is actually more to follow, the government, the government indication, which is to drop the terminating comma, or it's not really a terminating comma, is it? But the final comma, just so you don't mess around. But maybe the sector isn't important enough to completely alter the style of your document. But again, the consistency within the document is what matters to me more than the presence of the comma or not. I think it's kind of, I get why it becomes sort of this like signal for the tribe, but it's like I just think there are more things to have interesting conversations about than that one. Yep, exactly. So I'll actually, because I'm really bugged by it now, I'm going to find the name for the sector. And yes, I will start playing Cyberpunk soon, but I'm... okay. So, agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting, right? Now, fishing and hunting, you might actually argue it's like, it's the same thing here. But then you go to like mining, quarrying, and oil and gas extraction. And then, my favorite here, administrative and support, waste management and remediation services. So secretaries and dumpsters. Professional, scientific, and technical services. So yeah, it's like for me, these are like, I'm not weirded out by the way this convention works. I think if you look at, I was originally going to say, it's usually the one at the end, but it's not, because it's the administrative and support. But I mean, to me, it's probably for me, it would usually just be the ordering. So like when I read something, real estate and rental and leasing, I would say, you know, rental and leasing would be one unit. Um, Professional, scientific, and technical services, I think, is covering three related categories, right? Professional, scientific, technical. Um, but when I see something like oil and gas extraction, right? In this case, they're lumping in, you know, the oil and natural gas. The emphasis on that is the extraction. So no, I mean, the difficulty here, right, is that I will probably look at these just about every day. So, you know, there's just a certain intuition that you develop out of these things. But yeah, I don't know. What was the other one? Oh yeah, galactic algorithms. Well, while I've got it up here, let's just go to Wikipedia. This is I love the fact that this I love that this idea exists. A galactic algorithm is an algorithm with record-breaking theoretical asymptotic performance, but which is not used due to practical constraints. Typical reasons are that the performance gains only appear for problems that are so large they never occur, or the algorithm's complexity outweighs a relatively small gain in real-world performance. Galactic algorithms were so named by Richard Lipton and Ken Reagan because they will never be used on any data sets on Earth. So this is the first one that I learned about. An example of a galactic algorithm is the fastest known way to multiply two numbers, which is based on a 1,729-dimensional Fourier transform. It needs O n log n bit operations, but as the constants hidden by the big O notation are large, it is never used in practice. However, it also shows why galactic algorithms may still be useful. The authors state, "We are hopeful that with further refinements, the algorithm might become practical for numbers with merely billions or trillions of digits." But yeah, I do love the idea here. It's like, oh, you want to multiply two numbers? 1729 dimensional transform. So, computer scientists are weird. All right, we have exhausted the topics before, and I'm gonna finish off my coffee. So I'm going to take a quick moment because I'm probably not going to be in this part of town again. Good yakitori, Night City. Tempura, Night City. Cheap. Udon, Night City. Tasty ramen. Is there anything to eat in this wasteland? Can give you a few pointers. You want sushi? There's a decent place. He's gonna get mad about this, but can't go wrong with Tom's Diner. They have the best pancakes. I have not had an opportunity to try it, but I suspect I would not be welcome there. All right, it's 500 meters, so we'll do a morning jog. Poppy farm? This sure looks like the one where I had, like, the mission with River. Anyway. Morning jog. I can assure you I will be driving to the main mission location. I thought that was a helicopter for a second, but maybe it is. But I heard a wonderful description of a helicopter as it was like 10,000 parts flying in close formation. Was it? Yeah, something like 10,000 parts flying in close formation, being propelled by vibrations in the air or something like that. There are flying vehicles in the game, but not ones that you can control. In the Corpo opening, you actually get to take what approximates for a limo. Well, crap. Well, crap. Who are these guys anyway? Oh, wraiths. I don't feel as bad about. Wait, wraiths are like the Raph and Shiv, right? I'm hoping I shouldn't feel bad about killing these guys. Archive conversation, Michael Markanowski and Marley Anderson. They found us, tracked us down. How the fuck did they do that? Big Pete had that Militech cloaking up. Bullshit, he did. They marked us. We got SoCal drones on our ass. We'll just try to get across the border. Shit. I told you to dump this hunk of junk. Shit's older than you are. Wow, ouch. Just focus. Keep flying. We're hit. We're going down. Mike, answer me. Hello? Oh, fuck, we survived. Holy shit. Tom pissed himself. Whoa, we came down hard. Where's the cargo? Send someone here. Pick us up. Most of it seems fine. All right. This probably won't be good for the paint, but... So the description of the mission seemed to indicate that we were heading like straight for the parade. So I'm interested in seeing where this goes. Actually, I am curious, Underwater Monk, because I've played this game a couple of times. I've referred to the game or the movie a couple of times, but I can't remember if you were here last time I mentioned it. Have you ever heard of the movie Strange Days? I think it's a pre-turn of the century science fiction movie starring Ralph Fiennes, directed by Catherine Bigelow. So this would be before she sort of found redemption in the form of the Hurt Locker. Never heard of it. Interesting. So there's a character in this game called Lenny Nero. He's quite different from the character in Strange Days. All right, I messed up the sat nav. But yeah, but that's very obviously a tip of the hat to it. So produced by James Cameron, directed by Catherine Bigelow. Really interesting cyberpunk movie, which I don't even know where you'd see it now. Like, it just seems to be like a film that time forgot. But it's it is a very, very 90s movie. Like, there's like very obviously something inspired by sort of the Rodney King riots in Los Angeles. But I still think a really interesting movie. And again, particularly knowing Catherine Bigelow's career, I really like Harrison Ford, so I think the very first Catherine Bigelow movie I ever saw was like one that's never ever referred to. It's like K-19, The Widowmaker. But, if you're gonna watch all of Harrison Ford's movies, you're gonna watch all of Harrison Ford's movies. Yeah, like I think for a really long time she was kind of regarded as like one of the most talented filmmakers that had yet to have like a real breakout hit, like basically a film that was like commercially and critically successful in a way equal to sort of the talent that she was known to have. And I think The Hurt Locker was the one that finally turned that around. But like for me, the thing is that I actually think Strange Days is very well done, and like I understand that it was not financially successful, which is why it's so difficult to find today. If anybody knows how you can watch it, I'd love to know, because like I usually like you can find stuff like that in a library, right? Because they'll have like a DVD or something. But yeah, obviously, particularly if people like Cyberpunk, right? Like it's a good one for people to check out. What was I gonna say? I was ranting. Oh yeah, actually another director I kind of feel like is in the. Although she does seem to have had some other success. I think Across the Universe did well, but I feel like Julie Taymor, like. I happen to like her adaptation of Titus personally, right? It's the one with Anthony Hopkins. There's actually, you can find on YouTube, there's a making of special for it. It could be like something on a DVD extra or something like that, but some interesting interviews. So I didn't realize it, but like the woman who plays like Lydia from Breaking Bad, she plays, oh God, I hope I get this right, Cordelia? Cordelia is the daughter's name in Titus, right? I actually want to check this now. The other one that's funny about it is that one of the producers of it was Steve Bannon before he got into news, if you can call it that. Sorry, Lavinia. Anyways, so she's in it. Alan Cumming's in it. Who else? It's definitely like a good. Oh, Matthew Rhys from The Americans is in it. I didn't recognize him when I saw it. But anyways, yeah, I actually thought it was a good. I thought it was a good adaptation personally. But again, it was one that financially wasn't successful, and yet I feel like as a film, it's like I think it's actually not bad.
Just received word on a breaking story. You
think it'll take the load?
Who cares? The parade is done.
Yeah, that does look
V,
pretty great.
just in time.
Ah, Goro. If you're here to jump, remember that there's help available. The round-the-clock hotline.
That is not funny. The parade will soon begin. I adjusted the data from Okada-san. I advise you to examine it yourself. To begin with, the malware works. Truly, much better than I anticipated. Our eyes and ears are in the guard room. I observe the CCTV and I know where the sniper positions are. They are a trio. You must make each harmless before they do the same to me. There are many ways to reach them. The first is nearby. He should not be a problem. The second is worse. You will have to climb. As for the third, he hides on the footbridge over the street. We are here. Hanako-sama's platform will stop here, close to the emergency exit we will use when all is done. From these points, you will have a clear view of the parade, but the snipers will see things even better. If they notice you, bang, no more thief. If this sounds dangerous, consider that I must leap to the float, enter through a window and meet Hanako-sama face to face. The last is what I fear the most. Is all this clear? Are you ready?
Wait, if things go to shit, we got a backup plan.
What do you think? I am accused of betraying Arasaka. Soon I will try to confront the sister of the CEO in person. There are no backup plans. This one must work.
Plan's fucked beyond all recognition. Yet here I am.
I know, and I thank you for this.
Thank me once it works. Now get in position.
Very well. Wait for my signal.
Stay safe, Goro.
I am in position. The floats have started to move.
Yeah, but it's so pretty.
It's Arasaka drones. I also spotted the netrunner in an Arasaka uniform. She is somewhere hidden.
Okay, good to go.
Then let us begin. You must reach all snipers before Hanako-sama's float appears.
Hey, what's going on? Why'd you shut the elevator?
Saburo Arasaka, cool chap. It'll be beautiful.
Clearly I can't go through there.
Hot! Oh, I'm gonna steal alone! Oh, shouldn't even be out here. Back inside, back inside.
You are close. He's almost in front of you. He's watching the crowd, not his back.
Oh no, what hit him?
Archive conversation, Mark and Kim. Mark, how'd you find these subcontractors? I'm about to fucking lose it. Everything's done half-assed and behind schedule. Frowny face. Don't send me any fucking sad faces. Just fire them. I want to. Believe me, I do. But I don't decide who we hire and fire. There are people, not nice people, who say who gets the contract. Believe me, I don't want to piss them off. I had no idea. I'll explain everything to you, just not here. Okay, see you. The hell was that? So I'm gonna just reload to that one. I do want to try and approach this stealthily. I just want to know what caused a missile to land on me. If I have to go like one-on-one on him, that's fine, but... Plus, I think this looks really cool, so I'm happy to be able to see it again. I do slightly wish I had more opportunities to sort of see the parade through the
Okay, good to go.
Then let us begin.
I do kind of
Switch all snipers before Hanako-sama's float appears.
I do kind of wish that I had more opportunities to sort of see the parade, like on the way. So like it's neat to be able to get these shots, but obviously there's an implied ticking clock, so I'm a little bit more inclined
Shouldn't even be out here. Back inside.
to go after the
You are close.
the objectives.
He's almost in front of you. He's watching the crowd, not his back.
Oh no, what hit him?
Oops. All right. Well, I'll grab the goodies first and then read the thing. All right, we've done this, done this. Oh, there's a mine here.
Act of terrorism that
Suspicious activity in Sector 3C. Bearded junkie next to the balloon stand.
Corporation employees.
Patrol, hold position. Balcony 2 floors up.
Goro, took out the one closer.
Now you must leap to the balcony by the green arrow and take the elevator. Take the footbridge at the top to cross the street.
Also, I must apologize. I didn't reset my computer before starting the stream, so I suspect there's going to be some performance degradation that I could have avoided.
Fuck yourself! Crazy. Tom, I didn't even bother releasing his body. And there ain't no compensation without no body. Hyenas.
P, this is important. Oda is speaking to someone. I am linking you in. We both can listen.
Again, security is substandard. It meets none of our norms. Hanako-sama should not be here. You questioning Yorinobu's orders? Do your damn job. Understood. Over and out.
It is just as we expected. Oda is here. I will contact you with any news.
I do wish I didn't fast forward through that bit. I was trying to do the crouch. I will confess, one of my...
I know that borged out ogre. Adam fucking Smasher.
Guy killed you, right?
Guy, motherfucker's barely human. But hey, know what? I'm glad he's here.
You're glad?
Seeing as I woke up in a world without any Saburo, I'll have to be satisfied with Smasher.
You gotta be satisfied. You got fuck all to lose.
Alright, fine, we. Your finger on the fucking trigger, I guess.
I talked to Johnny. Don't I get the... There we go.
Try to reach the maintenance area. You can climb up from there.
Surprises here. All the factions have games on the ground. Don't think so. This outside.
Yeah, one of the things I'm not crazy about with the game is its duplicate use of certain keys, and like ones that you could very...
Don't look too stable. Sure, Takamura didn't plan a little whoopsie-daisy for you?
Almost fell.
Carefully. You must not.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Told you so.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the fact that you miss parts of the dialogue because you want to take a very natural movement. The game decides it wants to throw some dialogue at you. Hey, just got word that something reeks on level 3C. Can someone go check it out? Maybe something crawled in the air ducts and died. Let me know when it's taken care of. Thanks, Kim.
You will have to get down somehow. Just be careful. Yes, just so. Don't rush. I need you alive, not the corpse below.
Okay, that says traceable, so... I also do like hearing the Saburo eulogy in the background. I just wish I could focus on it a little more.
It was 50 years ago in Night City.
Just let me tag the thing, damn it.
Cowardly act of
Come on. It's gonna allow me to get alerted, but it's not going to not gonna let me tag it.
victim to an equally cowardly act of violence. It was an act of violence aimed at the world of values in which we all share. As Night City is its witness, the Arasaka Corporation shall rise from this ordeal stronger than ever before. As it did 50 years past. This is happening here and now.
Just a few feet more and it's yours.
Not quite how I planned on it going, but... like, presumably this would be the point where... I mean, I think one of the ways that the...
What did soldiers say? Target down.
Good words to hear.
I think...
You will find up the wall to a staircase at the end of the room. It's the shortest route to the next sniper. He positioned himself high.
Keep you posted.
I think one of the, like, the in-game, idea...
It is order again. Listen.
We have to announce that public safety has been compromised. She must be extracted.
Yeah.
At once. Arasaka is fully capable of protecting its principles. Ask your boss what he values more. The Arasaka image or his sister's life. The situation is in hand. Over and out.
Did you hear? They know something. Perhaps much. We must hurry.
So what I was gonna say was that, like, presumably the second there's an alert that comes up, you know, that is the moment that you extract the person that you're protecting. Oh, cool. Why is my frame rate dropping? Well, my frame rate is dropping because it's an intensive part, but like my connection, I haven't had this since I was with Rogers. This is not good. One moment, please. Okay, hopefully we're back. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, so one of the things for me was there was that earlier conversation with Oda, which seemed to indicate that, you know, again, security was substandard, in the fact that Adam Smasher and, you know, what we know about Yorinobu would indicate that there is a certain willingness to be lax on security in this particular case. But yeah, the game basically made that explicit after that first round. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to try and do it stealthily, but, you know. Archive conversation, Nicholas and Gilberto. Did he come see you? Who? So he wasn't. If he was, you know who I mean. What's going on? Not what. Who? That fucking ninja. No idea where the fuck they got him from, but I'm telling you, one look is enough to make you piss yourself. He come with the princess? Looks like her head of security. He came here to leave something here, some gear, like 15 minutes ago. I'm still fucking shaking. Seriously, watch out for him. Secure Your Soul, Medical Report 11. Tamaki Kuroda, Lucas Barreto. Thomas Bubenstein, 16-second cooling system malfunction occurred. See report 8554-1. No effect on procedure. Equipment diagnostic request has been filed. 211, Agnes Vatry, procedure encountered no problems, but was delayed 2 hours. Client under influence of strong sedatives. 212, David Pucci, successful procedure, no issues. 213, Jack M. Stashak, one of the cores overloaded during the procedure. See report 8554-4, indicating likely secondary or tertiary brain injury concealed by client. Additional observation of construct recommended to detect potential anomalies. 214, Anne-Marie von Gamroth, successful procedure, no issues. 215, Lucas von Gamroth, class 3 anomaly detected in first procedure, construct deleted, second procedure successful despite client's aggressive behavior. I'm wondering if this is the soul killer thing. And relic. Edward Lawrence 2, client died during procedure, autopsy scheduled, believed to be circulatory heart failure. 217, Ava Ferryman, successful procedure, no issues. 218, Michael Christo, class 1 anomaly detected during procedure. Construct has been quarantined on external medium for further research. Wait a minute. I'm wondering if one of these is a different name for Johnny Silverhand. Okay, I'm basically looking for a BD55 that gives me the FF sequence. Okay. It's not a good sound.
Surrender immediately!
I'm assuming that was related to the combat that happened down below, but...
Open fire!
I don't know if this is scripted this way or what's going on, but... Apparently there's still more people. Okay. It's like a clown car of Arasaka goons.
I will personally find you and bury you. Enemy contact!
Yeah, I
I'm
messed that up.
engaging!
Priorities. BD1C, and then I need a BDE9 or 7A.
Try to reach the maintenance area. You can climb up from there. And if that doesn't work, you can use the footbridge to your right. Watch out for the float jets, unless you intend to get caught. I'll keep my head low.
Something's got me on fire.
Those pipes look strong. Try to climb them.
I'm very interested in this, but man, I am not gonna lie. I am very confused by some of the things that it's trying to signal to me. Like, I don't know where the fire happened. I legitimately, like, missed the mine. Like, there's a big red line that I should have paid attention to. But yeah, like, whatever was damaging me there, I didn't know and frankly didn't care. Okay.
A shooter patrols the footbridge.
That was
Well
my
done.
bad.
One problem remains.
And that is...
The Arasaka Netrunner. She has taken control of all the networks. You must get rid of her. We'll not be able to hijack the float otherwise. She hides in an unfinished apartment building, near to the second sniper's nest.
Okay, on my way.
One of the things that is mildly funny about this, I'm assuming this is largely the effect of the, what is it, the, I want to say the Phantom Menace, but that's a Star Wars movie. Phantom Liberty. I'm thinking basically because, you know, I've gone through all the material like up to this point, so my character's presumably over leveled for where this normally appeared inside the game. Like, I'm missing whatever signals they're supposed to be about the mines. Like, I am very stupidly just walking over any old mine that I see. But it seems that the consequence isn't for me. I may want to replace yeah, it seems like the consequences are felt by the snipers, because like I walked on the mine and apparently that was quite successful in killing the person it was like apparently protecting. So I will confess, I think this is an interesting level, but I also feel that the way it's set up, and I don't know if this is just because of the DLC pushing the difficulty in a different direction, or another factor. I find all the interesting things, I'm like, my attention's being drawn away from it. So like, for instance, the parade itself is very interesting, and there's neat things about Saburo's background, which, you know, if you liked hearing those in the opening, you probably would want to hear that as a, you know, as a player at this point too. But obviously, you know, you've got people talking to you through the experience, and you've got basically there's not really an opportunity for you to sort of stop and smell the roses. You're sort of, at least it's suggested that you should be working on the mission. And then I know I've complained about it before, but I do find it a big defect that the fact that the crouch is mapped to the skip, and that there's like no signal, or there's no like, it's so easy to just hit that. I do feel like I'm missing more of the story than I would normally want. So yeah, all of this is to say is that I think this is an interesting level, and I wish I liked this a bit more than I am. I also feel like it's doing the best it can to draw my attention away from the things that I find interesting. And it's one of the first times I've actually felt this about this game. I've already obviously got where I want to be with my my weight, but I might as well get the rest of the cleaning done. Not as bad as I thought. At least it's warm. Fucking stinks though. Oh, that's too bad, Vicky. If I could, I'd take you in, but we just got a message saying we can't contact former employees. There are cams on every corner running facial recognition. I know, it's okay. Don't worry, I'll find a way. I'll find another job and be back on my feet stat. I hope so. We're rooting for you. Sorry, gotta go. Think someone's coming. Okay, get back to me when you can. Vicky? Vicky? I don't think I have a 1C55 that leads me to an E9. Okay. Doesn't say the sniper's name was Vicky. I can feel good about myself.
Oh shit, not good.
I'm sure it will be fine.
Now, B, I have attention. Pull out Harlink.
Been on a while. Time for a break. Fuck! Of course you're here!
That is a nice intro. I probably should be more focused on taking out his cybernetics, though.
Distance. What's the distance? Stay away from his blade. He will slice you like fish. Oh.
It's already off. I'm not really doing any kind of effective damage here. He is definitely doing a lot, though. Okay, not what I intended to do, but we'll make it work.
Beware. He will activate camouflage. Look for breaks in the light.
Oh, he is healing. God, this sucks. I don't have a ping? Okay, well, I guess we're starting this fight over again. I think the pistol's probably the way to go on this one. It's sort of nimble enough to be useful. Also should be aiming for the ticket more, or the target more than I am. Ole! So, given the fact that Oda and Takamura have some kind of history. Whoa! I'm trying to make this non-lethal, but it's also really hard for me to keep track of his location, his health, and his So I think once we're down to the 10%. Just gonna wait for the fire to go away. Good God. Yeah, alright, well. I guess I can't save during the... Good God.
I managed to...
Oda, is he dead?
He's breathing. For now.
Please, V. Show him mercy. There should be nothing standing in your way now. We press forward.
You and your fucking sick sense of honor. Today's your lucky day, though. Could thank your old friend Goro.
It is I who thank you, B.
I actually don't find this inconsistent with how I've played the character before. Like, obviously, when it comes to the gang stuff, where possible, to try and minimize the number of fatalities, because, like, especially when you're going with the Valentinos, you have, like, these are people who potentially can hire you later on. So, actually, I guess that kind of brings me back to Titus Andronicus and Cycles of Violence, but that wasn't quite where I was going with that. All right, we've got... if I do BD55, I can turn that into a 1C as well. But can I turn that into an E9? So I've got BD55, but then that doesn't become a 1C. BD... well, that's a 55, then that becomes a 1C, but that doesn't turn into an E9. Yeah. Okay. So if I try the 55 1C, then I get the E9. Okay, yeah. And then we can try the BD55.
Okay, Preem. Online and in the system. Hanako's inside.
What is she doing?
Trying to call someone, I think.
Try to listen. Do not forget to disarm the alarms. I must be able to enter. なぜ止まったんだ?
危険だと警告されたの。小田とも連絡が取れないし、何か変だわ。
パレードを中止すれば、弱さを露呈したと思われる。
弱さ？誰の？あなたの？
俺たちだ。
私が参加したのは、あくまでもお父様を追悼するため。操り人形になるためじゃないわ。
この見せ物では、みんなに役割がある。美智子は文句を言ってないぞ。だが、お前が言うなら中止してもいい。全部やめだ。お前の安全が第一だからな。
兄さん、やり終えましょう。
ありがとう、花子。せっかくの式典だ。やり終えなければ悔いが残る。
Goro, all systems jammed. It's now or never.
お父様。
花子様。
あなたは
お許しを。どうか話だけでもお聞きください。三郎様は
父のことを口にしないで。
これが俺にできる最後のご奉仕なのです。三郎様の死について真実を明かすことは、花子様、無礼を働きたくありません。しかし V! Ram!
Shit!
He shot her.
Well, now we're really fucked.
Knew we couldn't trust him. What happened to keeping him on his leash?
Oh!
I'm sure I could take that stuff on, but it feels a little more on brand to run from the scene. I actually quite like the...
V, are you secure?
Yeah, for now. Lost your fucking mind?
There's no time to explain. We must meet.
Where are you?
An abandoned apartment block on Vine Street. Second floor. Number 303. Knock 4 times. Hurry.
I look okay to you?
Actually, I thought the interaction between Yorinobu and Hanako is interesting. Obviously, this predates Succession, but it is kind of interesting. Like, Vine Street, abandoned building, 3rd floor, hurry up, knock 4 times, make sure nobody follows you 4 times, please confirm you understand. 4 times, I remember, Jesus, I'm no gonk. I just hope Arasaka's hasn't tapped the phones. Excellent. It's better to be careful. Remember 4 times. But yeah, so there's a couple things that I obviously really like Succession. There's a couple things that I like about the sequence. So like Yorinobu, watching Succession all the way through definitely sort of feels like he has a little bit of Kendall energy, in the sense that like one of the characters in the show describes him as like he knows all the moves, but he doesn't know how to play them, and like sort of his youthful rebellion. Like there probably is never going to be another Saburo, and I do actually find the Saburo storyline to be really interesting. There's just sort of this idea that someone who served for Japan in the Second World War never forgave the Americans, has essentially lived this lifelong revenge story through the through the mean, like through capitalism, right, through conquering it on its own terms, and doing so in such a way that he lives a life that actually allows him to sort of enjoy this extended longevity, even going so far as to develop something like the relic, presumably the thing. Like there's definitely an idea that keeps getting, it's definitely something that kind of gets repeated inside of the game. And like, to me, one of the big ideas of this game that I think keeps coming back is this idea of the past holding on too long, like past its useful point, and the potentially corrupting influence of that, right? So you have Saburo, the emperor, not, I don't think anybody questions his competence, but he holds a very, very strong grip, and it's one where you can see the world falling into stasis. I mean, certainly the world of Cyberpunk is one of stagnation, high tech, but it's a world in which a lot has also been given up, and but the thing that I find so interesting in the sort of this contrast with Johnny Silverhand is it's the same with him, right? His whole idea of rebellion is an incredibly outdated one. He doesn't necessarily like what he sees came of his big job. And of course, in his case, you get to, in the case of Saburo, right, he's a big antagonist. He's sort of this sort of like world historical kind of figure, the sort of people who very, very, very few of us will ever like interact with somebody like that. I think the closest I've ever gotten was I got a book signed by Jean Chrétien at one point. That's not a meaningful, that's like you see a guy in a parade sort of thing. And, it would also be fair to say that that's, when I say close to that, that doesn't mean that I think he's a world historical figure, but like, that's just an example here in terms of sort of the rarity in terms of which you experience that. So I think it's definitely further than arm's length that you will see a figure like Saburo, whereas Johnny is absolutely in your face. He is trying to take over your body. And presumably the natural way that the player responds to that is like, no, I want to be me. I don't want to be erased by some old rock star, right? And I mean, obviously it's definitely something quite relevant to today. I know there's also a little bit of a pushback to it. I'm trying to remember what it was called. It was like there's a book or something like that called like Beating Up Granny or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was an effort to sort of push back a little bit on the tendency for for later generations to sort of put it all at the feet of like the baby boomers. And it's a tricky one, right? Because like I think a lot of the like baby boomer and later complaints are maybe a little, I think some of them are a bit overwrought, and they deny sort of agency on subsequent generations. But, it is also fair to say that I think there's I mean, like George Carlin, not exactly a modern comedian, but I mean, he's has a whole bit on like the attitude of a certain generation being, give me that, it's mine. And I don't necessarily think that's an unfair assessment. So, as I haven't read the book, but like I think there is I don't necessarily think it's wrong that the original conversation happened, and I also don't think it's wrong that there is an effort to try and reinsert a bit of nuance into that conversation, because for me at least, I think we don't wind up in a better place anytime you have an easy answer of, oh, it's that other group that's responsible for my problems, right? It may not even like, I'm not even saying that it's unjustified in some cases, but you do want to have something of a sober reflection on what you do with that information, right? Like if it's all about sort of coming up with an excuse for why life didn't turn out the way that you wanted, that is as much a statement of the expectations as it is the some terrible thing that was done to you or taken from you. Sorry, just give me a second here. Wickedly cold air to bring dangerous, life-threatening conditions where ice storm cuts power. We're talking about that the beginning. That seems like a bit of it's a bigger headline than I was expecting, let's say. Anyways, I was trying to say something about the game. Anyways, so what does become interesting, in my opinion at least, for these kinds of games and these kinds of stories and these characters is the subsequent generation, right? So Yorinobu does not necessarily, like his teenage rebellion, the murder of his dad, the theft of the relic. I don't necessarily think he comes off as a particularly sympathetic character. I am much more on the Saburo side of things. And I mean, this is actually, weirdly enough, one of the profs I had for political economy did a paper on this, and he was able to, in a municipal election, randomize, this is like, this still like amazes me. He was able to randomize the messaging in a political campaign. So just to be clear what that means, right? In order to understand to understand politics, to understand how elections work and certain messaging works, a candidate, and this was a candidate that had a credible chance of winning or losing the election, allowed him and the team that he was working with to randomize the messaging. So there were a few different like messages that they had prepared, without interference from the campaign, right? Because then that potentially taints the results. They allowed them to randomly assign certain types of messages to different districts to see what worked. And the conclusion that they got from it, I believe they called it valence, but essentially it was the messaging that created the impression of sort of competence had a measurable effect in terms of the results, whereas any kind of partisan messaging or any of the sorts of things that you might imagine would show up as a factor, they couldn't find a measurable effect for it. But the valence they did. So essentially the image of competence was what created it. And that's there's always that worry that when you find a result like that, that's going to sort of change your own feelings on certain things. But I'll admit, like when I watch a show like Succession, I am much more interested in like the Brian Cox character than I am like, any of the kids. And I think that's intentional, incidentally, but yeah, the competence, the builder, is somebody who just generally I'm more drawn to. So when it becomes Yorinobu versus Saburo, I'm going to be more on side with Saburo on that. I wonder if that would hold for higher levels of government, or if people want competence alone at the local level or specific policies at the national level. I mean, obviously they were only able to do that for a municipal election. It was one in Italy as well, right? So that, the concern in terms of generalizability, I imagine, could also be brought to specific political groups. I would be inclined to say that I can believe that holding at more than the municipal level. But I always think it would be nicer, in my view, if I could take that paper and rather than just sort of assert that on my own side, to sort of use the language of the paper and try and create a model of the of like a national campaign and identify sort of why it maps well, rather than just sort of assert that. Because like this is one of the things that's always sort of bugged me a little bit, is like even on things that I've researched, right, like there will be like, I'll try and present an argument, and even the mechanism that allows it to be a causal argument as opposed to sort of the correlate, because everybody loves throwing out the old saw, right? Well, correlation doesn't equal causation. Yeah, that's kind of why I described the identification strategy, but you obviously weren't listening to that part. So obviously I'm not saying that to anybody here. Like I haven't really done that kind of a sustained discussion for a while on chat, but like it's one I've run into a lot, even on things where I can directly explain like why it's designed in a specific way to avoid that very common criticism. But yeah, like, I mean, there'll be, I remember there have been times where I like give reasonably well, like I'll say this wasn't true at the time, but that the paper I was talking about actually subsequently was awarded, well, the individual was awarded it, but it was very clearly that paper that he was awarded. The paper was one that got the author a Nobel Prize. And I remember really distinctly one of the responses being like, well, that's a take. And I was like, no, it's not a take. It's research, right? Like you can, the progress of this sort of stuff is obviously criticism and like being able to identify things. So like I know there's a lot of people who really like Freakonomics, and Levitt is far more successful and almost certainly a better economist than I am. But I would also go so far as to say I feel like he has not lived up to the sort of reputation that he had. Like I think he was supposed to be like the rejuvenation of Chicago. Not that Chicago was a bad place, but like I think he was supposed to be sort of the hot new thing. And I just sort of feel like the results never really materialized. Again, at the standards of Chicago, right? Like I'm not this is a glass house I shouldn't be throwing stones in, right? Like I have no interesting research output by the standards of economists. But like his sort of claim to fame was this paper, and it's one that appears in Freakonomics, about sort of the reduction in crime being associated with Roe versus Wade, and that effectively it was not like changes in policing or anything like that, but it was effectively sort of a generation of criminals that weren't born that led to the decline in terms of crime. It's a really interesting premise, and it was an interesting paper in terms of how he identified that. But there has been subsequent research to actually specifically address some of the instruments that he used. And like there's some other ones, like I generally, like I understand instrumental variables, and there's some really cool papers that have come out of that stuff. But I'll be honest, I tend not to trust instrumental variables very much, because inevitably they turn out to have something that doesn't satisfy the condition. So there were a lot of sort of like, I think, conflict papers that for a while used like the weather as an instrument. And then there's like a paper that shows, you know, violence increases in hot weather. And so, you know, all of a sudden your weather instrument is not so useful anymore. That's obviously like a really old example, but like it's just an example how things that sort of seem to satisfy those conditions turn out to actually be rather fragile. But again, like the point of that isn't like, you know, the big gotcha, right? It's the same way as like hearing Noam Chomsky, like the way he talks, I think he really believes that economics departments are like churches, that like everybody's like sitting around Adam Smith, like reading it as if it's gospel. And like he feels like he's got these gotchas where he'll point to stuff that Adam Smith wrote and how it's like this, you know, the whole house of cards has fallen. But the thing is that like I never read Adam Smith in my university courses because I was doing like economics courses. I wasn't doing economic history courses. I would have loved to have done it. But like that's also the sort of thing I'll like read on my own. Actually, the most recent year's winner, Joel Mokyar, I've got one of his books, The Lever of Riches. It's one of the economic history books I was going to do. Another guy who's interesting on this is Oded Galor. I think his is called Economic Growth. Hang on, I've got it on the shelf. Unified growth theory, sorry. But yeah, it's just like, you know, I'm interested in the history of ideas, but if I'm studying economics, I want to learn how to do economics. And like Alfred Marshall is very interesting from a historical perspective, but I'm not going to read Marshall's textbook to be able to understand how to do my job. I'm going to read something modern. So yeah, I mean, like the thing is that the way you make progress is that, you know, you study this stuff, you try and identify whether or not you find it a credible argument. If you think that the argument may be coming up short, it may be that you are actually able to reinforce the finding by closing that gap, right? Like sometimes it's not about like demolishing somebody else's work. It's about strengthening the argument. But yeah, I don't know. It's like there's the difference between that and like engaging in a deep way with the argument and just sort of like, yeah, you know, it doesn't matter that it's like, you know, a really like a seminal paper in understanding, you know, political economy or, you know, or economic growth or anything like that. You know, having heard 5 minutes of this, you know, even though there's like a popular book that the guy wrote to, you know, to popularize the ideas with the masses, you know, having heard this for 5 minutes from a third party, I've decided that this is not true, right? And like, I don't know, it's not to say that people can't have opinions on these things, but it would be nice if people would actually bother to engage with the idea rather than just like say stupid stuff like, well, that's a take. It's like, okay, fine. Like, you know, you do also have the option of just not saying something. So, anyways, I was talking about the mapping to succession. But so you've got the thing that I like both about Succession and the way that Cyberpunk seems to have done this is that you can get away by making the son like a loathsome character unworthy of, you know, the grand stature of the dad. And in fact, there's also a very worthwhile story to be told, and I feel that this is definitely true for Succession, where part of the problem is that the father does not want to be overtaken, and so is creating conditions specifically under which the children can't sort of step up, or under which they can't achieve something greater. And you probably can get away with making somebody like Yorinobu sort of just this one note kind of character where, you know, he's not he's not as good as his dad, but he was able to murder him, and so he's, you know, taken over the company now. But what I like both about Succession in that specific moment with Yorinobu and Hanako is I get the impression, because Kendall gets this in Succession as well, where there are moments where you're like, yeah, he's grown into the role. And so in the case of something like Arasaka, right, you've got the great man, you've got Saburo, and of course there's always the succession is always a question with these things, right? Like, if you're talking about a business, the business almost certainly is going to outlive the founder, right? So this was the Big Apple question, right? You know, Steve Jobs, I think one of, I think in some cases, I know it's really popular to point to the things that he got too much credit for, but I also feel the things that people like to say as minor accomplishments are actually probably some of his greater ones, right? So the marketing stuff, right? People seem to think that that's like easy or lesser somehow, but when that marketing is responsible for the adoption of technology, right? The idea that the computer at one time was considered to be something that only very large businesses would use for very specific purposes. And instead you have the bicycle of the mind and the idea that it's actually quite natural for there to be a computer in the home and that you would do that, you use that for things. We take that for granted because we live in a world in which that idea came across. That was not guaranteed to happen. And so to me, that is the job of a marketer. And I would say specifically in certain contexts that the sort of nerdy hobbyist computer people are not going to be good messengers of that, for the same reason that Git is like miserable to use, and why, like, you know, Android is popular, but like Linux is still not like a popular desktop option except among a certain nerdy type of user. And I say this as somebody who's got a Linux virtual machine running right now. It's probably one of the reasons why the performance of Cyberpunk isn't quite what it is. But right, like, you know, the thing is that I think one of the things that Jobs does not get enough credit for is the succession planning. Specifically, like picking Tim Cook, telling Tim Cook, like, don't try to be me, like do your thing, and Cook being the one to drive Apple to $1 trillion and beyond valuation. Because I think for a long time people thought that Scott Forstall was going to be the next one, certainly considered to sort of be the like mini Steve. And I don't know the reason why he didn't turn out. And like Ken Kasienda is a guy I'm really interested in. I liked his book on developing the iPhone. I believe it's called Creative Selection, if you want to check it out. But I know he is not a fan of Tim Cook. And I mean, obviously, you know, John Ive has left the company, and he's working with a competitor now. So that doesn't necessarily, like, not everybody is necessarily happy with that succession, but at least as far as the company is concerned, I feel it's very hard to argue with the choice. I think Tim Cook's tenure, for the most part, and up to this point, has been quite successful. Although obviously, you know, some of it also needs to be measured in terms of what happens later, right? Like I think it's Jeff Imlett is kind of considered responsible for the big downfall of GE, but the fact of the matter is that I think he inherited a bunch of stuff that was waiting to sort of topple as well. So the thing that I find interesting about Yorinobu is that, you know, there is the question, like, how do you manage it? Like, Arasaka is huge. It has internal factions. I think there is a pretty heavy suggestion here that this is not unlike a nation state, right? Even if it's an authoritarian country, there are different centers of power that are going to be competing with each other who want that top job. And so if you have sort of the slobbering Dauphin taking over, then presumably the factions are going to eat him alive. And I think one of the things that's really interesting about the interaction with Hanako is it really does seem like, particularly in the interaction with just after Oda, right, and the idea of honor, and specifically that Takamura asks you not to not to kill him. to have that appeal, to sort of see Yorinobu manipulate Hanako, to have her in a situation that is dangerous to her, but to sort of know the levers to pull, I think is really interesting. And I think that's one of those indicators that he sort of has this opportunity to show that he is actually capable of rising to the station that his father had. Doesn't necessarily mean he is his father, but he's shown that cunning that's required to be the top at in Arasaka. So again, it doesn't mean that I necessarily like Yorinobu as a character, but I like it when you have that opportunity to see that they may actually be able to achieve what they were doing. I think that just makes the more interesting character, especially even like in the case of Succession, there are multiple characters who seem like they may be getting that CEO job. There's only going to be one in the end. And so when you see that taken away from some of the people who might seem like they might be getting it, I think there's something interesting in that. And I would argue that it is more interesting to see someone who does actually show the qualities to sort of have the fall, rather than see sort of the unlikable character just sort of get kicked. So I did like that. I wish I liked the parade sequence a little bit more than I did, but I actually really like that that interaction with Hanako quite a bit. Maybe time is on my side. Maybe I should come visit. Dogtown. Oh, no. That's a non-starter, V. Night City or nothing. Mega building. You know which unit. Suits me just fine. See you soon. So I'll skip through that pretty quickly, but I wanted to at least queue it up so I can get... I rarely admit my mistakes, but this time I will make an exception. I underestimated your determination, yours and Takamura's. All I ask is that you keep my name entirely out of this affair. Of course, I will return the favor. I'm sure a police officer would 100% be happy with being shoved that way. Maybe later. Actually, one of the things that I need to admit in terms of influences for this, I have yet to see the Blade Runner sequel. No, I've no gripe with Denis Villeneuve, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, but haven't got around to it yet. Do like the original one though. Actually if I'm not mistaken, I seem to recall there was or maybe that was just for Vancouver, but there was definitely a time when you could see it, like not just on the big screen in like an art house theater, although those are always fun too, but like it was like a proper, like I would go watch a Marvel movie in it kind of theater put on. I think they called it like the Final Cut or whatever, but like whatever the sort of cleaned up version they did for a re-release at some point. Anyways, let's see the other shoe drop on the parade mission.
Okay, come inside. Quick. I feared they had caught you.
Now are you gonna tell me what the fuck you were thinking?
I used a sedative. She tried to enable her tracker. I had no choice. I offered her some tea.
Well, that makes it all right.
Hanako Arasaka and offer her a cup of fucking tea.
Yes, she respectfully declined. Tell her the truth about Yorinobu. No embellishment. And state your terms clearly. Perhaps to you, she will listen. Hanako-sama, 彼が例の人物です。どうか話を聞いてあげてください。
I'm sorry that we have to speak under such circumstances.
That is the second time today I have heard that.
I was there that night at Konpeki Plaza. I saw Saburo Arasaka die. He wasn't poisoned. That's a lie your brother made up and spread. Yorinobu is the murderer.
You must be mad to think I will listen to such nonsense.
Look, I know it's a lot to take in, let alone believe. I also know you're an honorable person, worthy of trust. And that's why I want to make you an offer.
You? Make me an offer?
The relic your brother tried to hawk off the Netwatch is in my head, right now. Took a bullet to the brain, but the tech on the chip saved me. And now, it's slowly killing me. One of your personality constructs, engrams. It's overriding my psyche. Gotta stop the process before it's too late. I know you got the means to help me.
Hanako-sama, he is living proof of the terrible crime your brother committed. We can confirm every word he speaks, if only you will help him with the relic. Hanako-sama. Did you hear that? Go and check.
I got a bad feeling about this. Damn it!
On the ground, asshole! Don't move! Last chance to get the fuck out of here!
Takamura. Can't leave him back there.
Forget him, guy's toast. Unless you want to wind up like him. Keep low and eyes 3.
For fuck's sake. I know I keep complaining about it, but like I am really fed up with a number of things that this game skips. Like there's literally sections of the game where they give you dialogue and there are areas you can't access without crouching. I do not understand why they made that choice. I didn't think this through. I need an E955, but I need to find a way to get to an E9 quick. Okay, I don't want to go for the trace. Although it looks like it's forcing the fight. I also realize I sound like unreasonably crabby about it. One of the reasons why I don't like that feature of the game is it basically says to me, it's the game sort of implicitly saying that the story doesn't matter, and I don't think that's true. It's like why I want to play this. So it's really frustrating when they make it so easy to just blitz through bits like that. I'm not sure what you mean, Tiberiosity. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that was almost a good idea. I don't know if you can actually shoot grenades through the air, but it would be cool if it was, if you could. I don't understand why it I give up. I will try to survive, but this is starting to get a little silly and frustrating.
Reloading!
So I'd say it's fair to say at this point I do not feel the same urgency as the beginning because I've wiped out the squad. I am, however, going to grab some items.
Don't you fucking dare float off. Not now. Come on, gotta get the fuck out of the city. Think they make these motels especially for royal fuck-ups like us? AC's busted, dirty needles under the mattress, shitters clogged. No, for real. Who fucking comes here to sleep? We're a couple miles outside Night City. Someone leaving town just keeps driving. Somebody going there sleeps in the damn city. What good's a motel in the middle of nowhere?
Johnny?
Yeah?
Shut your gonk mouth, please. Saying random shit ain't gonna help anyone.
How the tables have turned.
Johnny, for crying
Now
out.
we're the ones sitting around waiting for Sokka assault squads to storm in. Anyone knocks, blast the fucking door. No warning. Not keen on us ending up like Takamura. Hear that?
Car.
At this hour, in this place? Fuck. Just one? Finger on the trig, V.
I'm playing a corpo, ostensibly with like stealth, but
Not a word.
I have a message for V.
Don't touch that door.
Who's there? I said, who's there?
Oh, want the whole motel to hear, or will you let me in?
All right, gonna let you in.
Finally. Ugh. That on the wall, is that blood?
Yeah. Knocked the last star off this dump. So, you were saying, got a message?
Sitting right here. It'll start soon.
What'll start?
do like the lighting.
It's a doll.
Or a proxy.
I must make one thing clear. I still think you are mad.
Hanako. That you?
But I can fool myself no longer. I believe you.
How'd you find me?
Did you really think it would be enough to leave the city? Takamura mentioned he had placed a tracker on you. Yet even had he not, when Arasaka wishes to find someone, it finds them.
Porcelain, bitch.
I'm sorry. I know this must be difficult for you. Painful.
So much so that I could not look the truth in the eye.
What happens now?
Yorinobu planted a Tanto in the corporation's very heart. I must act while the wound is fresh. And you will help me. You are living proof of his crime and treason.
You're gonna help me first.
Perhaps I did not speak clearly. We must act quickly.
Well, I'm pretty tight on time, too. Dying, in fact. My dead body would make for a pretty lame-ass witness.
I understand.
Want to know everything you know about Mikoshi.
Mikoshi? One of my father's flagship projects. A data fortress with servers situated on orbital stations all around Earth. Think of it as an archive of personality constructs, digitized psyches.
Try a prison.
A matter of perspective. In any case, that is not where you will find salvation. Not without extensive knowledge of the relic and the construct creation procedure.
Have a good evening, Tiberiosity.
Track down your runaway. Hellman was hiding under Kang Tao's wing. We chatted. Think sooner or later the engram will completely consume me. Process can't be stopped.
A surprisingly deterministic conclusion for a man of science.
At the very least, I got my hands on the relic schematics. Got detailed information about its inner workings. Project tech documentation.
All useful. Even more so given that Hellman is still alive. I will contact him and explain that one does not leave Arasaka by the back door.
Managed to make contact with Alt Cunningham.
The Cunningham?
The very same who invented Soul Killer. Using her modified version now.
That should be more than useful.
That's about the extent of what we've got. What now?
let us meet in person. At Embers, in the city center. It is discreet. Just remember one thing. From now on, we both must exercise extreme caution.
Well, that's my job done.
Know what?
What?
Think I'd have rather had a wave of Saka elites barge in here.
We got what we wanted. Don't tell me that proxy got to you.
Fuck you.
Come on, think about it. Yesterday, Hanako was living in a world that was completely safe for her. What's she got on her hands now? A foreign city, a homicidal brother, and a fucking thief. It's why she sent a proxy. She's alone. And she's shitting herself more than we are.
Uh-huh. Clink.
What? Did you say clink?
Mm-hmm. Sound of her attaching her leash.
What's up? Got a few more words about the porcelain cunt?
Fuck! Shit. Get ready. Fuck.
That is intriguing to see the silver hand show up.
You ain't dying yet. I got you.
Johnny.
That smells the sea breeze. Get up. Pacific's beautiful this time of day.
Almost flatlined by that attack.
Almost.
You're right. Hard to take my eyes off it. We in Pacifica? What's this building?
Old hotel, the Pistis Sophia. We're her sole guests right now. Wanted to show you something. Come on.
Saw the pseudo-endotrizine in your hand.
Can't very well function in this body without it, right? Got this strange impression your comatose self wanted to get rid of me. Actually put up a good fight.
Did you want to pop the pill?
Coolier Chrome, if I'd wanted full control, I'd have taken it already. Lots earlier.
Think I woke up, derailed your plan in the nick of time.
And I think fear of death's got you spewing misdirected anger.
Yo, V, I need a special merc for a special gig, someone I can trust. My client wants a juicy scoop of Rayfield corporate intel, and just so happens 2 of their concept engineers recently landed in town out of merry old England. Finding clean water in Rancho Coronado is easier than catching Rayfield bigwigs outside their HQ. This kind of opportunity comes along about as often as a 4-leaf clover under a blue moon. We gotta jump on it. Find the engineers, extract the intel about their next project, send it my way. Then ka-ching, ka-ching, you know the rest. Nothing too complicated, but I need it done right. Can I count on you? You can count on me, Cap. That's why you're my favorite merc, V. Guess the Brits want to snap some stills of the skyline before they hop back across the pond. They're at the Coronado Dam in the southeast. Weird spot, but being so isolated could work in your favor. Sending the cords. So what, no honor code between fellow gearheads? There is, sure, when it suits me. Go get him, V.
climb through the window. Can manage that, I think. You wanted to know why I brought you here. There's a hidey hole where I'm standing. Open it. Empty it.
These yours?
They were. Belong to you now.
War souvenir, I'm guessing. War you checked out of.
Well, well. So you do pay attention sometimes. After I deserted, I wound up here, locked in this room. Laid in bed, staring at the ceiling fan for a good month.
Wouldn't mind lying down right now. Watching a fan turn till the end of time.
It's why I brought you here. Wasting days, weeks. That's the step I want you to skip.
Why are you giving me these?
Imagine we're deployed together, fighting in a war, side by side. Would you take a bullet for me?
No, I wouldn't.
Tags belong to a man who sacrificed his life for mine in Mexico. Been thinking about our predicament. Want to be clear. I will do you no wrong. When the time comes, it'll be my life for yours. I'll agree to get wiped. Tags are proof of my promise.
Kind gesture, I guess. But you can't really give me something I already have. Body's mine. Always has been. It's my decision, not
Let's
an
not
intruder's.
talk on it anymore for now, okay? You seriously considering Hanako's offer?
Hanako and I want the same thing.
Huh, yeah. Listen, you'll do what you think's right. You're in charge here. Just got one request.
Well?
Adam Smasher. Fucker who got the better of me. Whatever happens to me, I want him zeroed, gone, tossed into the wind as mulch.
Seriously? Smasher? He suddenly comes to mind? Last time we saw him,
Didn't have a chance to say hello. That's why we gotta find him. Finally end this.
That your dying wish. Revenge.
It's more than that. And I'll need you to take Rogue with you. It's important to me, and it's just as important for her.
That ain't true. So, I gotta tell Rogue everything?
Think I'd better do that. Handle it personally. You'll drop the pills from Misty, and I'll steer the ship for a bit.
I'm not at all excited about this plan. Realize that, right?
Just gonna have a quick chat with Rogue about Smasher. Then I'm out, I promise.
Rogue's convenient cover.
For what? Me seizing control of your body at long last?
Or some gonk-ass suicide plan to attack Arasaka again. Know you pretty damn well at this point, Johnny.
For the last time, no secret plan.
Hellman said you'd do this. Make a power grab or pitch for control.
Anders Hellman. And just what has he ever done to help you?
May not help, but he doesn't hurt me. Not sure you've earned my trust.
This needs to work both ways, V. You enjoy complete control over me at all times.
Don't even enjoy control over myself.
You're the one who makes the bad calls. All I can do is advise. And ask for favors, like I'm doing now.
So the tricky part that I've got with this is that by the standards of how I have been playing and what I actually think, I think this is exactly what Hellman is warning about, and that I shouldn't take the offer. Unfortunately, this is the context of a video game, and I think it's a lot more interesting if we see what Johnny does with this. So we will, I would, rather than flat out declining, I am going to say...
Need to know exactly what you plan to do.
I'll tell Rogue the truth. See if she's willing to help.
Hey, Satan kicked me out of hell. Thought I'd swing by.
All I gotta do is mention Smasher. Serve him up on a platter. Muse over the old days. Easy.
Fine. I'll do this. For you.
Appreciate it, thanks. Take me to the afterlife. Promise, you won't regret this.
Feeling better. Should get going.
Still feel a sharp something near your heart.
Doubt that's ever going away.
It is, I do wonder sometimes if I'm sort of misreading some of the interactions with...
Hotel Pistis Sophia. That right?
Mm-hmm. Good place to die.
Just not today.
Oh, interesting. We've crossed over into a new act. So I do sometimes wonder if I'm misreading some of the interactions with Johnny. Like, one of the things I could think of would be Titanfall 2, which, you know, works really well as just a good shooter. And
Spare a veteran some change.
Here. All yours.
Well, I still good and you. God bless.
So like, as a solid shooter, like, that is all it needs to be. But one of the things I really liked about the structure of, we can do some side missions while I'm at it. One of the things I really liked about the structure of Titanfall 2 and its story is that it works really well as kind of like a buddy movie. Like, I'm thinking kind of like I guess a buddy cop is like the usual form that it takes. And like, the only difference is I have no idea why they decided to equip me with a shotgun, but I would have appreciated it if I could just keep my, like, the weapons I actually want to use. It's definitely not Skippy. It's not Crash, so I'm thinking Seraph. Yeah, it was something I really liked about that game, and I think there are. I mean, again, there's lots of good stories in games. There's going to be ones that sort of appeal to people for different reasons in that, but it's one that comes to mind when I think about some of the avenues that this game could have taken, which is if you sort of think about the kind of the relationship that you have with BT in Titanfall, and sort of the, you know, the journey that you go on and how satisfying that sort of that finale is. I kind of contrast that with the way I react to Johnny. And again, I think this is intentional on the part of the game, but, you know, Johnny is portrayed as this hostile force that's trying to take me over. And my inclination in that, particularly because my character's main motivation is to survive, it does lead me to essentially disagree with everything that he does. And like, if we can compare this to, say, a I don't know, like an improv class or something, right? There's sort of the I'm trying to remember exactly how people frame it, but it's sort of like there's the idea you don't say no, you say yes and. So you can introduce so you can be doing some sort of improv thing. You introduce an interesting idea. One of the easiest ways to sort of kill the momentum is to just sort of fold your arms and say no, right? Now, obviously in the real world, you always have that option. In fact, there's a lot of things that you can do in the real world, or that you can do in the context of a game that you wouldn't do in the real world. I gave $5 to, an alleged homeless veteran. There's no, so far as I can tell, there's no discernible benefit in the game for doing so. But it's made up money. I don't get to keep it when I close the session. There's nothing that I'm really losing in a meaningful way for doing that. It's just I feel like less of a dick. It's funny that they let me open the door, but it leads to a blocked out area. It feels like I'm not supposed to be here right now. Let's meet. Notel Motel Room 210. Who is this? I think that might be I'm noticing we're actually queuing up a few. Actually, I guess I could meet up with Panam, and then that will that'll give me something to move towards, something to clear out of the queue, and then it'll give us an opportunity to talk. What was I going to say? Yeah, so what I like to think about in the case of the relationship between the pilot and BT in Titanfall 2, you do not need to have that be a buddy story, right? The BT can be completely subordinate to the pilot. In fact, if you think of most mech stories, BattleTech through its entire existence has always had some level of storytelling to it. I'd like to go so far as to say that I would say it's good storytelling, but there's obviously so much of it that not all of it's going to work. I'm pretty sure the animated series is attention all NCPD subcons, suspected organized crime activity around Eden Beach mega ride. Stanislaus Zbietsko likely at the scene. Perp is a known captain among scavengers with multiple smuggling priors. City authorities have a reward on offer for neutralizing Zbietsko and his group. If I can find him, great. But BattleTech, which I would hold up for the, well, actually, sorry, that's not true. There's other shows which have giant mechs that people like as well. So maybe I shouldn't hold up BattleTech as an exclusive. But for the most part, I would say that BattleTech is definitely an example of something that has big mechs and does actually take the time to motivate why these people are doing these things. And you can get stories about the succession wars. You can get there can be lots of it's not just that the characters are motivated. Okay, something's looking at me. Definitely not the way I want to approach. Oh, apparently the gun's just going for it. Yeah, personally, I would hold that up as an example, and I actually think the BattleTech, like the game by Harebrained Schemes, I thought was quite good, and I know the story was sort of a secondary consideration. It wasn't like the main thing that they were working on. I believe that was sort of a stretch goal with the what is this? Surveillance, yeah. I do believe it was a sort of a secondary consideration for the Kickstarter, but I do like the fact that, one, they got the money, and two, that they took the time to write it, because I think, the game would have been satisfying as something to motivate a bunch of mech pilots to fight with each other. But instead they sort of told this interesting story about the, the restoration of sort of the... Oh. I thought that was a gun for some reason. Anyway, I think the low-hanging fruit's been picked. So again, BattleTech would have worked perfectly fine as a...
We find you one way or another. You hear?
How dare you apply! He's killing us off!
Would have worked fine as just a good tactics game, but told a story that was worth listening to. I was invested in where it went and what the outcome was going to be, and I thought the game was. It wasn't just that the game was better for it, but I really felt that it. To me, it felt like. It basically felt like BattleTech. Like it was one of these things that sort of acknowledged that, short of a feature film, short of a feature film, that basically BattleTech has had some kind of I wonder if Reboot Optics is gonna...
What the hell is this?
Okay, well, it's gonna hit me. Yeah, basically, it acknowledges the storytelling that's been present in BattleTech since the very beginning. Come on. They don't reduce it down to a visual novel or anything like that. It's still a genuinely good tactics game. But like I said, it feels much closer to the to sort of the core experience that maybe is why people still like it and are excited for BattleTech stuff. You know, even though it's a few decades old. At least I think it is. It certainly feels like an old game, but again, it's completely fair. Like, I would not blame people for not being interested in the story about giant stomping robots, right? Like, the stomping robots are sufficient for being interesting on their own. Stanislav, so let's go first things first. Keep your traps shut on this. Anyway, our story goes, the animals jumped Goose and stole all those high-tech implants he was transporting from the tigers. And don't go feeling sorry for the guy. He was a good tune, but started getting too fucking smart. Tigers should buy it. Goose got zeroed for real. But none of you fuckers say a fucking word to them. Or go prancing about with those implants. Whole hauls going into Soviet motherland. So yeah, I'm belaboring the point, but like basically, it's I think it's cool that that Titanfall 2 approached its story the way that it did, because it didn't have to be that, but it feels like it was a real cut above, specifically for making that effort. But what it did do, like, you know, again, when I'm confronted with a game like this where you have sort of a companion like Johnny, it does sort of make me wonder, like, what... so I'm trying to think how I can do the 7A thing. In the case of somebody like Johnny, you could see a sort of Titanfall style. You don't really start off at odds with BT, but you can see that relationship potentially growing to a point where you find Johnny more sympathetic. And yet one of the things that I think stops that relationship, to me at least, from developing along those lines is that it's not just that Johnny is a sort of a hostile force trying to take you over. Every external source that talks about him, like, essentially refers to him as, you know, dangerous and, you know, going to erase your personality. Check this out. Hello from Breezy, Oregon. Visiting your Grams and Gramps? Yeah, showed up on their doorstep a few days ago. Don't know if they were happy or confused. Pretty nice being with family. Good people, good food, zero bullshit. How's life in NC? Hanging in there? Peachy as ever. Still got that relic, but I'm working on it. You'll figure it out, V. You always do. Gotta go. The elders are summoning me. But yeah, it does lead me to the, like, again, this isn't as, I don't consider this a flaw, like the way that the game handles skipping dialogue. But like the part that's funny is you have that deal, like, so when I encounter that sequence with Johnny, like, it's a nice gesture with the dog tags and all of that. But the fact of the matter is, I do not trust him. I can't think of a situation in which the game has given me any indication that I should trust him. And so, like, you know, it's like I'd feel like a sucker if I, you know, if I was actually given that decision and even entertained the possibility of giving him what he wanted. I should have thought this through a little bit better, but... And I will do at least one round of Roach Race, although, you know, I shouldn't expect too much. And one of the reasons why I'm kind of focusing on this is that I'm wondering if they're relying on the fact that it's a video game, and so as a consequence, you know, I am supposed to, like, you know, I'm supposed to feel that what if question, and like that's the reason why I let Johnny take over. Because I mean, there's also one where, you know, you just put on a random BD and like they effectively talk to you like you've just picked up a random syringe and like injected it to yourself. But, you know, on the other hand, it's a video game, right? Like, you want to do the thing. So it's one of these things where I'm not sure if the game deliberately wants him to be as risky as he comes off, and like something that you yourself would say, I don't want to do this, but because I'm playing a game, I'm going to do this. Or if players are supposed to sort of feel like, you know, he's not so bad, and the dog tags are something that allows people to sort of let him in a little bit. But like, to me, it's like, yeah, it's my body. You know, you're a squatter. You are making demands of me that are unreasonable, and I don't think it's magnanimous that you're saying like, I'm gonna agree to be erased. This was never yours to begin with. I guess with Act 3, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's unlocking because it feels like my phone's been ringing off the hook in game. I didn't check the high score. I sort of feel like the chance of success is always low. But on the other hand, like, it's kind of the way I talk about some of the Outlast Trials stuff. It's like I am starting with the exact same material. Like, the conditions under which I start an Outlast Trial or that I start with Roach Racer, like, they're the same, you know, but they're the same as my like last best run, and they're the same as my worst run. And in fact, particularly for Roach Race, sorry, I say Roach Racer, but particularly for Roach Race, because you have one life, like, it's always going to be true. Like, there's no way that the session is sort of, well, I mean, I guess you can like have slightly more or less success getting the extra points, but like for the most part, like the for the most part, right, the opening moments of your best run and your worst run are going to look the same. You know, it's really, the only difference is really going to be at what point do you finally interact with an obstacle. But I'm pretty good at psyching myself out and being like, oh, I'm not gonna get the high score this time. But it's like, I don't know, I'm no more or less likely to get the high score on this run than any of the other ones. I mean, I guess one of the things I would say for myself is that when I was running into this a little more regularly, I would have more like immediate experience, so maybe I'd feel a little bit better about some of the judgment calls. But anyways, we'll run with this as long as I can. I don't even remember what level I sort of blew it last time on, but I'll try not to get too spicy with some of my moves, but I will obviously try and go for the rewards where I think they're reasonably clear. I do need to get a little bit better at using the glitch. I'm going to guess that I'm going to guess the levels are designed in such a way that you can theoretically get all of the power-ups. But whether or not you recognize the opportunity is another thing. I also do need to play The Witcher 3 at some point so I can understand half the references in this game. That's actually also good to know that you don't travel from top to bottom, you teleport top to bottom, so I don't get the item in between. I think a couple of... Oh, damn it. I thought that glitch was still going. That's a shame. That was on its way to being a decent run. Obviously, nothing here. I think we're like halfway to what my old total was. But that's fine. What are you up to? I'm just about to step into the shower, thinking of you. I can tell you're bored. Bored is the wrong word. More like restless. I'll remind you that we never really properly finished our ride in the Basilisk. That's actually funny that they tell you to hurry the hell up. Maybe I should take the car this time. It would actually be really funny if if they left. Yeah, I don't know. I feel I don't necessarily I definitely don't dislike the character of Johnny. I feel like there could probably be a little bit more on the relationship between Johnny and V. I definitely feel like you get certain options. I feel like you get options in the game that
Hey, what's up?
don't quite make sense. And again, this could just be a judgment, like, on my part, right? Like, it's just, you know, I have a particular set of values. The guy ran out in front of me. What am I supposed to do?
Reported in Pacifica. Roger, dispatch. On our way. Say, would you at least come to my funeral?
Motherfucker.
Don't let him get me. I'll run ahead a little bit and bring the car back. Yeah, so like there's definitely been a couple of cases where I've played games and I feel like some of the role-playing options are utterly inconceivable for someone to choose. But you know, either you find out some stats or you talk with someone and it turns out that the inconceivable choices are actually way more popular than you thought. So I do kind of need to acknowledge that there's a possibility that my read of the interaction with Johnny is mistaken, but I don't know. I feel there's a higher degree of certainty. I'll tell you one game that does a great job of messing around with that a bit is Soma. So like one of the things I remember about Soma was there's a sequence where they introduced the idea of the continuity. This game does not want me to have a tidy car. But yeah, so like there's this idea, the idea in the game essentially is that if you like you can there's basically constructs like Johnny Silverhand in the world, and there is an idea that if you allow yourself to man, I'm really bad at killing people in my car.
City Center, all units in the area respond. Roger, unit responding. Any plans for the evening dispatch? Dispatch, do you copy? Damn, one of these days.
I think they're gonna catch up with me, but all right, well.
Suspect's vehicle has been located. Details have been sent. Suspect has disappeared. All units on site, continue searching the area.
Yeah, so you have these kind of the ability to copy consciousness in the world of Soma, and there is an idea that takes hold among the population that are having these copies made of the continuity. And I think the main idea here is that, you know, you'll have this copy of yourself, and then you will have the consciousness that sort of went into the machine, let's say. And that if you allow both to exist in parallel, that, you know, one of them, like the copy, is going to sort of develop its own unique experiences. It's going to be something different than you. But if you end your life basically just after the copy, right, you establish that continuity, that you become the second consciousness. And so this leads to a situation where, you know, people are getting their consciousness copied, and, you know, despite the psych profiles, etc., they're killing themselves effectively in the room where the copy's made, and it's creating this like tremendous problem on the station. So the thing that I remembered, like in the case of the thing that I remembered in the case of the game, like I had this very high degree of moral certainty that what was happening was just an absolute tragedy, that there was this there was this like this incredibly selfish decision that was being made, however well-intentioned, that was leaving, you know, a tremendous mess and trauma for people to clean up, and that these people were ultimately ending their lives for no reason. So, like, not only is it imposing harm on those who are left, but it's imposing a that it's you know, a tragic waste of their own lives. And at the end of that sequence, the game, I won't say what the sequence is on the odd chance that some of you want to play this if you haven't, but they give you something. They give you a decision that you make, which, depending on, I guess, how closely you're following the game and like what some of these ideas are, it might come off as maybe a little bit more obviously tied to the idea of the continuity. But effectively, they make you a decision. They make you make a decision, and the game doesn't necessarily judge one way or the other. The characters that you encounter have opinions of this, but it doesn't necessarily tell you what you should choose in this scenario. But what I do remember is I had, again, that very high degree of moral certainty as to what the continuity was, and what the like why that was a bad and selfish and, you know, wasteful decision. And they gave me one decision which more or less reversed my entire, like, as soon as it was applied to me, it like reversed my entire thinking about it. Which I thought was a really good job of sort of taking an idea and inverting it in a way that created a certain sympathy with something that you didn't before. And that I haven't seen yet with Johnny. And I don't know if it's because I'm not supposed to, or I'm not registering, or it just hasn't quite motivated some of those decisions in the same way. And again, that's not necessarily a knock on the game. Like
Hello, V.
You know, I like it, but why does he want me to sit down? I'm not playing the brain dance.
Ugh, I'm starting to feel that stress go away. Well, you don't look like a nomad to me at all.
Come here.
Ah.
Huh?
Depends on what.
How you know?
I just wanted to do this so I could...
Let's talk a little while longer.
You have no.
There we go.
Take care.
See you soon.
Are they gonna force me to...
There you are.
How's it going?
Let's go.
So... Nope. Talk about it some other...
Yeah, I don't want to do the Johnny stuff. I just want to clear this out of my my quest log.
Hi, Pan.
Let's see if this changes if I go to the elevator. If not, I'm pretty sure I can at least... Yeah, there we go.
Murder investigation of Lucius Rhine, former mayor of Night City.
All right, I think I'm going to call it there. I know we're at time. I think I'll probably stop by...
Won a resounding victory with
I should go back to my... Yeah, I'll go back to my apartment after...
7% of the vote.
After violence.
Speech, Mayor
But...
Holt offered his congratulations to the victor. Now we see whether Perales will be able to realize his ambitious campaign promises. After the break, when will the... Players and their losing
Oh,
streak.
Christ. It's just gonna keep that in my phone. Alright, well, I think I'll have to get used to it. But yeah, I'll call it here. Sorry to have the end be sort of this mush at the end to try and clear out my quest log, but I did like doing the parade, and like I said, it does feel like there's a bunch of missions that have unlocked now that we're in Act 3. I don't know if it's a 3-act or 5-act structure, so we could also be getting near the end of the game. Definitely feels like if you've aligned with Hanako, who incidentally I didn't necessarily think was going to come on side. I'm wondering if there's a, you know, if that's guaranteed to turn out no matter what you say, or if there are cases where you can't make the case to her. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're fully into new stuff now. I don't recall ever making it to Act 3, so I'll leave it there. I'm probably going to play a little bit of Outlast Trials on the Discord. I don't see any reason to subject people to that on online tonight, though. I'll maybe make myself some tea before I do that. I'm trying to think. I don't believe I have anything else for the rest of the month. I know we had the local game dev collective on Wednesday, but we should be good for the rest of January, and I believe February I should be reasonably... I believe in February I should be reasonably free. Like the 18th would presumably be the next game dev meetup, but other than that, I think we should be good. So most likely XCOM on Mondays and Wednesdays, Cyberpunk Friday. When we finish one or both, I will try and figure out where we are in the overall scheme of things. I know there aren't too many people left for tonight, but let's see who's online. We've got my dear friend Revive Snow streaming, so I think that's a wonderful streamer to leave you all on. Again, thanks everybody for watching. I will be back Monday, most likely with XCOM, but I know it's always been a little bit of a it's been a bit variable. Yes. Until next time. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Stay warm.